Realty. I love that. Okay, Jason, clever, really awesome, awesome. Now, I'm a little biased, obviously because of realty.com, but these are the most important leads I think our industry has seen since buyer leads came online. That is how strongly I feel about cash offer leads. And I was just telling a group before we launch in today, I did a webinar this morning. It's a double webinar day. And in that webinar, I was explaining to them that I started talking to different teams, are really big clients that are converting at a high level at realty.com. And we're doing what I call conversion lab, and we're getting 5 to 10 teams together, and I'm about to track their conversion. We're going to do it with Grant, our guest today, and his team, and a Springs team, and a bunch of other teams. And I started noticing that some teams were crushing it, like double the conversion of others. I did notice that a lot of almost everyone in our ecosystem is getting a lot of appointments, but I started noticing really it starts differentiating at the appointment, right? You know what I learned? What do you guys think the teams that are converting at double to triple are doing that the other teams aren't? And if you were on my webinar this morning, you can't answer. Anyone have a guess? Anyone have a guess? Okay. So the answer is that they are offering multiple exits. So the teams that are double to triple the conversion are offering way more than just a listing. They're offering an iBuyer, they're offering local investors, they're offering some of it. I don't want to get into wholesaling today, that's contra whatever, but they're offering wholesaling and or subject to or wraps, they're called in some markets, or assignments, or they're coming in ready to solve the problem of the consumer. To me, that is the definition of the new real estate agent and who we have to be. That is our future. That is who we have to be, a consultant, and we have to be there to solve the problem of how a homeowner can liquidate their asset. Right? Back in the day, we just kind of, hey, we're the person that's going to put a sign in the yard, and that's what we do. Now it's way more complex than that. We are in an environment that commands more of us. So, with that said, I am super, super happy to introduce. I've got Grant Johnson here today. Grant's got a 150-ish agent team in the Minneapolis and expanding regions, right? I mean, you've got a couple other markets, Grant. Grant and I have been friends for quite a while. I adore him. He's just one of my favorite people in this industry. And I asked him to come on, and I'll toss it to you in a second, like, Grant. But I said, can you bring two of your top agents that are on the phones, that are in the appointments? Can you bring them with you? And can I just grill you on what exactly you're doing in the appointments? That you guys, they are doing this at such a high level. I'll let Grant kind of share some numbers or whatever he's comfortable sharing about the level of conversion, the level of success they're having. But we are so lucky to have them sharing everything today. I was like, is there anything you don't want me to ask you? And there's nothing. So we get to ask whatever we want. So I'm just going to spend this hour grilling them on exactly what they do in the appointment, and they're going to let me, which is amazing. But Grant, would you share a little bit what your experience is with cash offers and how much business you've done or anticipate doing, and just maybe any introduction that would help everybody?
Well, like you said, we run a team. It's about 150 agents in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. We recently expanded to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and now we are expanding to Florida. So cash offers, Mark goes, he's one of our top cash offer agents on the team. And then Katie does all the accountability for the cash offers and knows the numbers inside and out. So they're going to be much better for you on this than me. But we've done cash offers for a long time, and we use a local, cash offer company. We have an exclusive arrangement with them to produce the cash offers. But we've done things with Realty for, well, it's well over a year, I think, that we've
Yeah.
been doing things with Realty. And we recently turned it up where we're going to be doing a lot more because
Yeah.
it is one of our top lead sources. We're also a Zillow preferred team, but the Realty.com leads have been one of our top sources.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Thank you again so much for being here. And I think as a team leader, I'm really glad that you are here today because I'd love you to pepper in it, when appropriate, messaging to other team leaders. How do you get, we're going to hear Mark's amazing. I already know because I know the numbers and I know the results, and same with Katie, but I think there's a lot of team leaders here that are going to be watching this going, well, how do I get a Mark and a Katie? How do you train a Mark and a Katie? What does that look like? So Grant, that's where you come in today, right? You're still an important role, even though you're not necessarily in the living rooms, right?
I wish I was in the living room still, though. I
Well,
miss
we'd
those
all be
days.
making more money.
So,
Guess what, Mark? Newsflash, you make more.
true.
Newsflash. If you have seen profit margins lately for teams, you would understand. Okay. So here's the goal. By the end of this webinar, okay, you're going to learn how to present a cash offer. You're also going to learn that only 5%, give or take, of these leads are probably going to take a cash offer, which means, more importantly, you're going to learn how to pivot from a cash offer into a listing presentation or another exit. That's really the most important skill set today, right? That said, I do want you to learn how to present a cash offer, okay? Um, so we're going to start there. We're actually, the title of the webinar is How to Present a Cash Offer at a Listing, and we're not going to start there. It's because 95% of these aren't going to do the cash offer. And I want to start with the most important thing, right? These are primarily listing leads. Actually, Mark, let's start with you. Is that
Sure.
accurate? Mark and or Katie, you're looking at the numbers. Is that accurate? Uh, we don't have a lot of data on this, right? It's hard to track this. So anecdotally, one in maybe 20 appointments is what we're hearing might turn into a cash offer. Is that true for you guys?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's definitely there's a lot of opportunity to pivot over to get the listing versus the cash offer. I spend a lot of time. I don't know how deep you want me to go into it, but I mean, I can just start kind of go
Yeah,
through my process.
yeah, I love it.
So, speed to lead has been very important on getting the appointment. That's step one. Yeah, I've got one I'm hopefully finalizing today on somebody that I got last Thursday.
Okay.
And I did my research, talked to him by myself the first time, and then I brought my investor to the property. This guy was a private person. He didn't want a sign in the yard. He didn't want people coming in and out of his house, any open houses, anything like that. So I knew right away he wasn't going to list. It was an inherited home, and he wants to move on, go down to Arizona. So that one we should finalize, and I think we'll get acceptance on it today. So,
So, so let's start there, Mark. Let's walk through because, and again, today I want to focus on the appointment. That said, let's just spend a few precious minutes and we'll move on
yep,
the phone call because, we don't need to go through scripts and whatnot. But what I am
sure.
interested in is how you're pre-qualifying for the appointment.
Sure. So I talked to them about is it speed or is it ROI? What's important to you? And then we start talking about the property. And have there been any updates, obviously, things that we need to know. Um, and just kind of get a feel for where they're at. You talked about the psychology of it earlier when we were talking, and that's a big part of it for these people. Some of them are just tired and they want to be done and move on. I got a couple other ones that are like that right now. But some of them were just testing the ad and they really want to list and sell, but they don't know where to start. So it's meeting them where they're at and then having the conversation and present both options. I do with some of them that are, maybe they've been updated a little bit, but there's some really dated things. They might need a little bit more work. We get into cost of improvements and things like that. So when I give them a value range, if we're going to list the property, we know where we're going to fall. If it needs work, obviously towards the lower end, but it's still going to be better a lot of times than the cash offer. So,
Yeah. Okay. So I like that. So you're basically asking them timing and motivation, and then we're going into the property. So what percentage of time do you walk into the appointment and you know if it's going to be a cash offer versus a listing or another exit?
I'd say, I mean, for me, just because I have some background in construction and have done some flips, when I walk in, I can tell if this is going to be one that there's a lot of work that's going to have to happen here. It's one of those you're going to want to take the money and run versus you might just need a little bit of cosmetic improvements and you'll be able to get close to market, maybe 10-15% under market value versus the cash offer price. And then some of them, like I said, just didn't know where to start. And
Yeah.
you know,
So Mark, when you walk in, that's a great pivot point because when you walk in, we all know we have all walked into that house and we think what we think. We're all like, look, I have some experience here. I know exactly what they should take the money and run. Let's start there. When you walk into the house, how do you start that appointment? You now have to possibly influence them to think that way. Or do you find they all kind of know it?
I think a lot of them know it. I deal with quite a few senior clients too.
Mhm.
And one of them may have been taking care of the other spouse. They pass, their life's been on hold while they were doing that for a couple of years. There's deferred maintenance, and the house has a lot of stuff, and they're overwhelmed. They don't know where to begin. So I have some clean out companies, and then our cash offer guys too will let them walk away. Take what you want,
Yeah.
and then you can walk away, and we'll take care of the rest. So those are the things that I'm looking for when I'm walking through the house. You see it all, right? In this
Yeah.
in this business, you see some that you're like, even after a renovation, this is going to be a tougher listing to sell, but in the end, the investors always make us look good, and they do a great job with the properties. So,
All right, so we're going to come back to that. Let's take you to the majority of your houses where you have done the pre-qual and you've come in and they're probably not a candidate for a cash offer, right?
yeah, yeah,
So let's kind of walk through that a little bit, Mark. And don't worry, Katie and Grant, I'm going to get back to you. But I want to kind of stay with Mark for a bit. So Mark, you've done your pre-qualification, you've set the appointment. What do
yeah.
you have with you when you walk in the door? Keeping in mind they're not a candidate for a cash offer, most likely.
Sure. So we've got, a listing presentation kit that I take with. To be honest, I give it to them, let them look through it. And for me, I kind of have my own process. I have different buckets that I'm willing to do the listing, uh,
Kind of like
kind
a
of
menu.
menu of services. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, from there, I've done I've looked at the competition, what's on the market now, what's closed in the last, 90 days, maybe 120 if I have to. We deal with a lot of seasonality here in Minnesota, so that does come into play, time of year when you're going to go on the market. Um, and then I just ask them to take me around the house, give me the tour,
Okay.
point out the things you love about the house, point out the things that you're worried about, or things you think we might need to get done before we can sell, and just get into the conversation with them.
Are you taking pictures and video and whatnot?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
For the investors, I want to get pictures of all the mechanicals. I want to get, roof line pictures if I can.
Even if you don't
Exterior
think they're a cash
photos.
offer candidate, you'll still take the pictures and
I
whatnot.
still want pictures, and I'll take a couple of good ones because I like to do coming soons with my listings. So then
Mm,
I've got them. I
got it.
save myself a trip.
Do you find like do you have any tips or tricks to that, to bonding? Are you pointing out things along the way? Are you kind of asking questions? If you see maybe you'll see a roof leak, will you kind of ask them about it or do you hold back from that? Any wisdom you would share about that walkthrough?
If I see something obvious like that, I will ask them about it because, it could have been roof damage previously that they just never painted the ceiling. So you still have the water spots, things like that. So when was the roof replaced? What had happened? Along those lines.
Okay.
So,
So you're done with the walkthrough
yep.
and you're in your head, you're like, they're not a candidate for a cash offer, right? But they don't know that yet, correct?
Right. Yeah. We'll
Okay.
sit down, and I'll pull after I do the tour, then I'll sit down and present the other data that I had talked about with what's our competition on the market, where are we going to have to price it to be the obvious choice, and then are they okay sitting on the house if we list, or do they want to sell quick even though they're not taking the cash offer? And then that'll help us fine tune the pricing.
How do you know they're not taking the cash offer? Do you present it anyway, even if you know they're not going to take it?
I present both.
Yeah. Okay.
And I go back to the phone call that I had with them, is it speed or is it return on investment? What do you need? Like, I
Mhm.
want to get every last dime out of this property. Like, well, then here's our next steps with the
Yeah.
traditional listing.
How do you present the cash offer in a way that negates it then in that situation where you're almost presenting it so that they don't not just accept that, but in my mind, I'm presenting it in a way that's going to block all other cash offers because sometimes they've reached out to multiple people, right?
Yep. Yep. So to make them, I guess, pull the trigger and go with the actual listing.
Yeah.
The first is the obvious. You look at the huge gap, but then I'll go into it with them back to the psychology. Um, your house has been updated. Cash offers are going to be meant for people that have to sell or just want the convenience of not having to do any improvements before we sell. And from there, I just get into my normal listing presentation on, we'll get the stager out to get everything ready, professional photos, things like that. Here's the things I would recommend that we do before we go live. But then I also give them the option of the, second opinion from the professional stager because, and they seem to appreciate that. So
Okay. Okay.
it's for me, it's more relational. I mean, I could spend 2 hours on an appointment, but I'm usually walking out of there with one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you the one getting the leads? I should know this, but do you guys have ISAs or are you guys getting the leads directly?
We get the leads directly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This might be Katie, a Katie or Grant question. Do you guys know, do you have any idea how many appointments you go on per lead? So either contact rate or appointments set to lead to just give some general overview to everybody. Like for every 10 or 20 leads, do you guys happen to know how many appointments you might get?
Well, just since we ramped up our leads, that was what, Mark? Last Monday, they
Yep.
started ramping up. And
Yes.
since then, there's been probably 15 appointments set out of maybe 20 leads that we've gotten.
What?
Yeah, like it's
Wait,
been
what?
crazy.
I've never heard that ever. 75% appointments set to leads receive. Oh my God.
Even in the first 24 hours of ramping them up, Mark had already had a signed listing contract, and there was already like 3 or 4
You guys, this is why the Grant Johnson team is on right now. Like that does not happen. Like we are in a world where internet leads typically convert at 1 to 2%. I don't even know what to say when 75% go to appointment. I've never heard that before, you guys. So out of those appointments, you don't know yet because they're still in conversion, right? So sorry, Katie, I was just so shocked I didn't get it. How many agreements or deals do you think you have from that?
Mark, do you have 1 or 2?
I got two.
Mark has 2, and I believe there are 1 or 2 others that are confirmed. I know there's at least 3 confirmed right now.
Okay. So
One
three
of
to
our-
four deals, and you don't really know how many, maybe 20 or 30 leads or 40 or
there's probably been about 20 leads that have come in so far. Crazy.
And some of those we're still trying to make contact with.
Yeah, totally, right?
These
That
are just the ones that, yeah.
to be clear, what's shocking is the numbers you're giving are typically what I would see as a cumulative conversion,
Yeah.
because it does take time. What's shocking is how quick that is. Your
Yeah.
cumulative conversion is going to be stellar. Oh my gosh.
It's been crazy so far.
Via the system that Katie's put in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a system, right? I mean, Mark talks about prior to the appointment, but we went back to the old school, a questionnaire before the appointment. So we kind of know if they're going to take the cash offer almost before you get to the door. We have the cash offer before we even go with a range from our local cash offer people. So say I went on one personally. The house was worth 290,000. The cash offer was about 200.
Mhm.
And so I knew right from talking to them, they were never going to take cash offers. All they cared about was their bottom line. But I still went in and presented, here's your difference in bottom lines. Those people are listing probably in the next week. But it's just the full system. So we asked all these questions up front. We go step by step.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what's making the difference in the conversion because we have it pretty well teed up before you even go in the house.
So when you say questionnaire, is that in writing or is that verbal pre-qualification on the phone?
It's verbal. We do it on the phone.
Yeah.
We don't send it to them as like a PDF to fill out. It's all on the phone.
Okay.
It's very old school, like what we did in the 2008, 9, 10 type of era. We've gone back to these for these because it reminds me a lot of old school REO or short sale type
Yep.
presentations. And so I did a lot of short sales back in the day. And so we kind of just dug back into that and tweaked it for this.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, so the basic was speed to lead, and you
Yeah.
get them on the phone, and you're walking through a series of questions, and then you set the appointment. Is that the basic process?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And it's a very
Always,
simple questionnaire.
yeah,
Yeah.
always an in-person appointment is what we
Right.
shoot for.
And you don't share, I'm just gonna surmise based on what everyone I know does. You do not give them that cash offer on the phone. That's not allowed, right? Perfect. Yeah.
Nope.
Just want to make sure our group knows that today that's here. So when you guys are on the phone with them, because one of the things I have found that they say is just give me a number, just give me a range. That's all I want, right? What do you guys, how do you objection handle that?
Mark can probably speak to that one.
Sure. So, I mean, I say I could give you a range, but without seeing the property, I have no idea what I'm walking into. Your house could be pristine. It could be ready to go on the market tomorrow as a traditional listing. Or, there could be a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of, a lot of improvements. So, in order for me to do the best job that I can for you, I'd really like to get out and take a look at the property. You know, It'll take me a half hour. We can have a quick conversation and then I'll be out of your hair.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk about not just speed to lead, but let's talk about what I would call the delta of time between appointment set and appointment met, right? Do you guys have any rules of thumb there?
Fast
As
as
soon as
possible.
possible.
Of course I knew the answer, but you all didn't even let me finish the question, which was perfect. So everybody, you want a high show up rate, you make that appointment for now. Now is the best. Second
Yes.
best is later this day. Third best is within 24 hours. Fourth best is 48 hours. 72 and long, it's just you're just going to have no show rate. So you have to mentally prepare either yourself if you're an agent or your sales force if you're a team lead. And this is what I find happens with agents. And you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong in Minneapolis, but in Seattle, it can sometimes be gray and rainy by like 3 p.m., right? And the agents kind of resign to the fact that I'm going to spend the rest of the day at home. So they get the lead and they convert it and they just don't feel like getting up and getting dressed and going to an appointment that night. So what they'll do is set the appointment for the next day. Okay. So the winners and the go-getters and the people that are crushing it are getting themselves up and they're going to that appointment that night or that afternoon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's
But you
easy to
found
fall
in,
into that trap.
but in sales period, if you give time, people's motivation goes down, no
That's
matter
all
what it
deal.
is.
Yeah.
So the faster you can do any of this, the better off. Katie and Marco love this. While we're on this, my phone went off. They just issued a winter storm warning for here,
Oh,
which means we're going to get snow in the next 24 hours, right? I guarantee that if we go out on appointments during a blizzard, we're more likely to get the listing.
you are. And people are at home more and they're online more, and leads can sometimes go up during those times. When the least desirable times you want to leave your house, the more the leads can come in. So I say this because I've trained agents for years and I want you guys to all win. And it's just a mindset you have to get used to, right? You've got to get to that appointment ASAP. And so some of the lines I've used on the phone, and I'd love you guys to jump in, is when they've asked me for ranges and whatnot, hey, Mark, listen, I've got to see the home. It's required by the investor, and I can have a cash offer to you by this afternoon, right? We can go very fast. It's very smooth. I'm me seeing. I don't need it clean. I'm like a doctor looking at a body. I'm just diagnosing. I really, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. I can get this for you by this afternoon. So why don't I'll come over. It'll be a quick walkthrough. And I'm bullheaded about getting that appointment on the phone call. There's one thing that I want on that phone call. It's an appointment. The second thing is a pre-qualification. Okay. So we're at the appointment. Mark's amazing. You're converting it to a listing. Anything else, Mark, that you would say to share with these guys that you wish you would have known? Like someone's coming in on a cash offer lead, but you're walking in and you're actually having them list. do you say anything to build credibility? Do you have any good scripts that you kind of fallen into? I guess I'm just looking for some of your wisdom because most of these leads were pivoting from a cash offer to a listing, and I get a lot of questions from agents on how do you pivot? How do you do that, you know?
Oh, golden scripts. I'm pretty ad lib when I'm out there. I back up to the cash offer piece.
Mhm.
I don't want this to get missed because it was the first lead we got once we ramped up, and this guy that is accepting this morning. Um, he's like, you're not the only cash offer group that was in here. He's like, actually, you're the only ones that showed up, and you took some time with me on the phone. I had two other guys that tried to do Zoom calls with me
Mm,
and just gave me a number. It was significantly lower. So they're just churning and burning, talk to 100 and get one. Where we took the time, I met with him and got a range for him within a couple of hours. And he's like, well, I said, if you want us to tighten this up, let me bring my investor down and we'll do a walkthrough together. And that's when he spilled all this. He's like, I really appreciate you guys actually make me feel like I matter and you're trying to do what's best for me. So that can go a long ways. Just that face-to-face meeting, like you talked about, you got to get in there and get in front of them. And I think everything that you do up to the point of pivoting, you're building that relationship, you're building that trust. So it's a lot easier when you pivot to present, your pricing strategies, your marketing and all of that because they're already bought into you.
mhm.
So
Yeah, and I hope everybody has confidence in that, right? Speed to lead. Here's the great news about speed to lead. The great news is that actually trumps skill. So if you're a newer agent or you haven't done this before, to Mark's point, building relationship and rapport and speed to lead, you've already won.
yeah.
You literally are probably the person that's going to get it. Like, I just want you to feel comfortable and I want you to take the anxiety of performance out of it. Just make the call quickly, listen to what we're saying, go for it. You'll get comfortable really fast, right? Actually, Katie, follow-up question, and Mark might want to jump in. What kind of an agent do you find? You have 150-ish agents. How many agents do you have working these leads, and what makes you choose those agents, right? What makes an agent especially good potentially at cash offer leads?
I have about 27 right now, not including the new Florida people that just joined, that are on the Realty.com leads.
Mhm.
And all of them were handpicked by myself, Grant, and Amber, our sales director.
Okay.
And I would say there's kind of two separate categories. There's the agents that are very versed in listings, have done cash offers, kind of know the game. And then there's the half that are maybe super new to real estate and have done buyers, not a lot of listings, but they're getting mentoring from people like Mark and Chris, who is also a part of our Realty.com leads. And they're kind of partnering together and spreading the love, essentially. So they get to learn how to do a listing from Mark, somebody that is very seasoned in listings, but they still have like the opportunities that everybody else does. And I would say, Grant, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the new agents, they kind of have like the drive and the want to do it, whereas the agents that are busier and more established, they still want the opportunities, but they don't have as much time. So, kind of partnering those two groups together, we found a lot of success in, even if they don't necessarily have the most experience. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Grant, I do want you to weigh in here because let me ask you this, Grant. Is this a personality? Is there a certain personality that does better with these or not? Is there a certain experience level? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway.
I think the answer is yes and no. I
I
think
think
what
that's
we're
the answer.
finding, I'm very politically correct on that one. I think what we're finding is our experienced agents like Mark, we're having them form their own little team for this. So they're picking two or three agents that are new that we know will be on the speed to lead, that will do the follow-up. But then what's happening is Mark is going on the appointment with them. So teaching them how to do the listing appointment there. But when you're new, if you're new and you're aggressive and you're hungry, that's who I want on the answering the phone, right? Because they are super fast. They want to be there.
Yeah.
And it's made a world of difference. But the other thing that's really made a difference is Katie's accountability with them every Tuesday is no BS. You are red, green, or yellow. And there is nothing in between. And everybody's required to be at an accountability meeting. And if you are not in the green, you don't get leads the next week.
Okay, Katie, to walk us through it. How am I green? Let's start with green. How am I green?
So we use a system called Maverick RE, if any of you guys have heard of
Okay.
that. And that helps with kind of like the tracking of the accountability. So you get a nudge to your email when you either have like a task that has not been completed or you're behind on tasks. It'll nudge. And then I kind of look at those, make my list for our Tuesday morning meetings, and we go through everybody. Like we go right down my list. We start with Mark, let's say. We go to the next person, next person, next person. We say how many leads we have, how many appointments, listings, pending, closed. We go through all that, as well as who needs to catch up and how are you going to do it. And if they're not done by a certain time, you get turned off those leads for the next week. So, yeah.
Okay, I like that. Are you scared that that if you turn an agent off of leads, that they're going to get so mad they're going to leave the team?
I am not, no.
Okay, why would I ask that, Grant? Because that's what every team leader, that's why this doesn't happen, right? That's why team leaders are scared
Well,
of accountability.
you know what we subscribe to, which is KFR.
I know exactly. I mean, I know the answer,
I
but
mean, so no offense to any agent on our team that may be listening or anything. If you're not willing to do the work, we will go out and find somebody that is.
yeah.
And I know I sound like an ass there, but it's just the facts. We have so many leads coming in, such an opportunity. I will do everything I can to make everybody successful if they're willing to work.
Yeah.
But the moment they're not willing to work, we'll find somebody else on the team. We'll find somebody else that wants to work. Because I want to build people up. I mean, if I was in this for money, I would go take these leads myself and go sell homes, right? I go sell 100 homes a year.
Yeah.
And this, we're able to help and change people's lives. And that's what it's really about for us now. And so if somebody doesn't want to do it, it's fine. Just tell us. Somebody else will. We have 150 agents on the team. Somebody who we've never talked to this about will step up and want to do it.
Yeah. 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 And of course I knew the answer, right? But I wanted to ask the question because I think that the reason a lot of team leads don't hold their agents accountable is that's what they're scared about. And even if they're not voicing it, they're nervous that if they hold them accountable and start pulling leads, that they'll leave. And, my answer to you, if you're a team leader, is, well, if that's your only value proposition, that might be true, right? So you have to have standards, and this whole thing works with standards. Mark, I want to go back to the appointment, then we're going to move on to how to actually present the cash offer. But going back to that, I would like to hear a little bit more detail if you're good with it. So you show up to the house and you've done a CMA, you've done the CMA research, so you kind of know, right? You've done the walkthrough. Let's say the house is in pretty good shape, right? Nothing major.
Okay.
So, how might that conversation, if you or I were in a role play, how might that conversation go? We've done the walkthrough with good rapport. And, we've kind of talked about it. We had the questionnaire, but where you're going to basically say, look, your house is worth, I'm going to use easy math because I'm not good at math. So if the house is worth 100,000, say, look, I've spent enough time with you to know that the cash offer I have for 70,000 or 75,000, it isn't going to work. And you don't need to do that. You don't certainly don't need to. You're not in a hurry like that. And, how might that conversation go?
Just to pivot back to the actual listing.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about it a little bit where I'll go through all the competition. I'll go through the closed comps, market time. I do some other stuff in our MLS and it's probably available everywhere, but I can go in and plug in an area and it'll show me the amount of showings that are happening in that price bracket. I present that as part of my listing presentation. When we're talking on pricing strategy, when we're looking at bracketing, well, this one, there's 20 showings happening in the last 30 days from this price point, say 250 to 300.
Mhm.
And there's 20 showings from there's 20 showings from 300 to 350. So everything lines up to where let's price in the middle so we capture both sides. It's just, I go through some strategy things like that, and I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but
Yeah.
once I go into the listing, it's back to the relationship. Once I go into the listing presentation, and I've been shopped. I took a listing on Monday night that they interviewed 3 other agents. One of them was at the same pricing for the home, but they were lower on the commission. They were doing 2 and 2.
Mhm.
And I get 3.3 and tell them they're going to pay, 2.5 to 3. It's up to them. But they're like, we just feel like you heard us, you listened to us, we've got a relationship. We're going with you, even though you cost a little bit more, because we think you're going to, get us the most money for the house.
That's the biggest win you could ask for, Mark. When getting shopped, charging more, that you're stellar. That is the mark of a stellar agent, really, truly. And I think sometimes when you're so talented, like I'm asking you all these specifics, you don't even know you're so at mastery level, you don't even know what you do. You just show up and you just do your thing, right? Because I'm like, no, I want the scripts. And you're like, I don't know. I just show up and I charge 3.3 and get it. But yeah, I'm kind of looking for that conversation, like, you don't want this cash offer, that conversation. Here it is, but you don't want it.
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Well, I think,
All honesty, right? Just
yeah,
be honest with them.
we want what's best for the client, and our investors do too, because we don't want somebody coming back and
Yeah.
saying we took advantage of them. So it's in your situation, I can't, in good faith, even recommend you consider this cash offer.
Yeah.
Here's what we know about your home. Here's what we know about the market and what it will bring on the open market. And I'm going to do everything I can to get it in front of as many people as possible. That's what Katie and other people on our team are stellar at, the team she's put together. And, I get it signed. They do their thing. They make it look great.
Hmm.
And we have success.
Yeah.
It's
Let me throw one thing in there. It is a system though, too, right?
Yeah.
So we start setting our agents apart right at the beginning with a pre-listing packet couriered to their house. That's about the agent. That's about the marketing plan. It talks about the cash offer in there. So we try to set apart before we ever get there. We know 80% of all agents aren't going to do a pre-listing packet.
Yeah.
So we make sure there is one couriered to their house before the appointment. If the appointment's instant, the agent brings it with them, but it has our marketing plan. It has everything about our cash offer team. It talks directly about what they're going to do, why you should take a cash offer and why you shouldn't. As Mark said, the company that we partner with for cash offers, they actually know that they'll only buy 5 to 10% of the homes. And they 100% at times will recommend don't take our offer. You're better off listing your home.
Oh, that's great.
So, and so I think it's the way you present yourself that you're out there actually to do what's best for the client. And you're not just there to make money.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's perfect. Now with that said, okay, so that's what the right hand says. Let's go to the left hand. With that said, I'm going to now be contradictory because we all know that on the flip side, now we're going to switch to how to actually present a cash offer, that 5 to 10%. Okay. On the flip side, I find that we often put our own values on that of a homeowner. And in 5 to 10% of the cases, it actually is better for them to take it. And the example I give, it's funny. I interviewed Chris Craddock a couple of weeks ago on stage. He used the exact same analogy I use, and that is that I know it's cheaper to list my car on, what is it, Auto Trader? Oh, some guy answer, Auto Trader, whatever it is, wherever people list their cars. But every single time I'm going to go to the dealer, I'm going to trade it in. And I know I'm getting wholesale. I know I'm not getting the most, but it's convenient, it's time, it's certain. I want to go get my car. And don't try to talk me into going and listing it on Auto Trader and talk me out of the sale because I'm going to make a couple more $1,000s, right? So on the flip side, let's go into Mark. They are a candidate for a cash offer. You've done the pre-qual. You really think that, this is the one. What does that look like when you get into the house? You know, walk us through what that conversation looks like and how that might be different.
So if I know the cash offer, it's the obvious choice for the client. You know, I use a little bit from my listing presentation when we talk about here's the things that you need to take care of before we could list this. I bring it back more to a pricing conversation on what that's going to cost them. Do you have the time? Do you have family, friends that are, you know, contractors that could do any of this? Or are you going to be paying full retail? And then we just lay it out because by the time, you know, it could take 6 months, or with some of my senior clients, you know, they need to get into a long-term care facility, you know, senior living, and the kids are scattered all over the Midwest or all over the country, and they don't have anybody to help them out. So, you know, it's based on each situation's a little bit different, but you can create a pretty glaring contrast on why you should accept the cash offer unless you've got all the time in the world and all the resources to put into fixing this house up to getting it market ready. Or you can go with option A and walk away and we'll get you your money in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Do you guys have Mark or actually Katie or Grant, either probably all of you would have an interesting answer. And let me preface it by saying I have put it into about 6 to 7 general buckets of the psychology of a seller who gets a cash offer. Let's see if I can memorize them. Speed. That's number one. There's relocation and or you know, to your point, they've just decided they want to see the grandkids or whatever it is, right? Speed at some level, financial hardship, privacy, you know, the some of
the
the
big
quasi hoarder houses, inheritance, a life event like a divorce, you know, or you know, and I'm missing one, but do you have some typical buckets that, you know, one or two or three that you see these kind of fall into?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what do you guys see?
I would say most of the ones I see come through that I read are divorce.
Hmm.
Like a family member, somebody has passed away, they have to do something with the home.
Hmm.
Or I feel like some of them are just like financial hardships. Like either they can't pay for it, they're in foreclosure, something along those lines, I feel like are usually the three biggest ones we see. Mark would probably have a good answer as well to that one.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. You talked privacy a little bit, and it's not always what you spoke of. You know, the gentleman from last week, his family was very prominent in their community in our Southwest Metro.
Mm.
He grew up in this house, moved away, came back when mom and dad couldn't live there any longer and took it over. And everybody, he knows everybody, and everybody knows him. They owned a big furniture business in town. He's like, I don't want everybody from the city coming through my house. I don't want open houses. I don't want a sign in the yard. I don't even really want showings to happen because I've got a lot of stuff here that, you know, I want to get out before
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. So,
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I found that different areas have different buckets that have more of a weight. I was talking to one of our clients in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he said 90% of them are over 55, 60, 65. Um, and the vast majority of them over 70. Houses are a little bit run down, not too bad, and they all want to go move somewhere to see the grandkids, like some like Midwest or just Florida, wherever it is. They just decided they have equity, they just want out. It's not even financial hardship. He just that's just kind of our demographic. And that's not what we get here in Seattle. You know, what we get here in Seattle is relocation, speed, I know one of our partners in Orlando, Florida, inheritance is huge because there's so many elderly people that own homes in Florida, and then their families are up in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, you know, New York, and then they get stuck with the property down in Florida. So I think there's some regional, things there. All right. Um, do you say anything? Are there any things that instill trust or anything, Mark or Grant, when you're in the appointment? Here's what I mean. I've actually had some people here in Seattle say, "Is this real?" Like I actually was not sure if this ad was a scam or if this was a scam. Like, can I really get a cash offer? We get that a lot here, maybe because we're a high price market, but is there anything you guys say to instill trust and for them to, legitimacy in your investor?
Our investors very well known.
Ah, okay.
If we bring up their name, they're the largest cash buyer in Minnesota. They flipped over 400 homes last year.
Okay.
So that does help us. I haven't heard, maybe Mark has, but I have not heard people say as much, is this real? What I've heard more is how bad is it going to be? How low is the offer going to be? That's what I hear more than anything. And I honestly think it just comes down to just being truthful and trustworthy to them and just laying out the facts.
Yeah.
The cash offer is this is what you can get on the open market. This is what you'll have to do differently. You
Yeah.
lay it out correctly for them, let them make an educated decision.
That's right.
And because I firmly believe most people, all they want is the truth, and
Yeah.
they'll make their own decision on what's best for them. I can't force them to do anything either way.
Yeah, of course. Of course not. All right. Well, does anyone have any questions? Anyone that's here live, you guys can either put it into chat or you can raise your cute little Zoom hand and I will answer it. Why do you think, I'm going to get to Anthony in a second. Why do you guys think the consumers are shifting and starting to ask for these cash offers now before they even talk to agents? Because this is fairly new over the last 5 to maybe 10 years max, right?
And just pure convenience. Everybody wants the easy button right now in the world. Getting your house ready to sell sucks, let's be honest. Putting your house on the market, being gone for showings, it's not fun.
No, no.
You know, and we all think differently, right? If I were to list my house, I'm not taking a cash offer because I'm driven by my bottom line to sell my house.
Right.
But not everybody is. And I think there's a whole generation out there that doesn't care as much about their bottom line as they care about just getting it done conveniently. That's why you trade your car in, like you said.
Yeah.
Right. And I do the same. I trade my car in. I don't go put it and sell it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I think what's happened, I think the answer to that is that, we've always had 5 or 10% that were prone to this, and we never really had a mechanism to identify them, until really the iBuyers came. We have to thank the iBuyers to a certain degree. I know local investors have done this a long time, like We Buy Ugly Houses and all of that, but really became mainstream, I think, when the iBuyers came, right?
You know, when it started though, is we used to years ago do the guaranteed sale program.
Yeah,
If we don't sell your house in 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, we'll buy it. All that was a cash offer because it was
Yep.
this much lower than market, so we could put it back on the market. And we were dumb enough back then to just put it back on the market so we broke even. So these guys who just took it one step further.
Yeah.
So it's been around in some form for years.
Yeah, agreed. Anthony, how can we help you, my friend?
Hey, everybody. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Anthony from New York. These are all great, wonderful tips, and I love the car dealership analogy. So thank you for that. My question is, and it's really more of an apology because I jumped in like 10 minutes late. When these offers first come in, can you just review quickly? And again, my apologies. What is your opening line? You call them up, obviously speed to lead. You call them as soon as you possibly can when they come in. And what are you saying to them out of the gate?
I can answer that. Mark and Grant, you guys should answer that.
Go
Yeah.
For me, I want to know their situation. What's the motivation? Just like pretty much the rest of what we do, right? What's the motivation? What's your hesitations of actually bringing the house to market? So just to find out where they're at in their head.
Yeah, but are you saying hey, Mr. Smith, this is Mark. I'm the preferred agent with realty.com. What do you
Yep.
No,
calling you? I saw you're looking for a cash offer, or what are you
don't say
saying?
that. Don't say that.
Yeah, thank you. So
No. Grant, go, or I will.
I honestly would say, Anthony, you asked for a cash offer on your home. We're able to get you one in the next 24 hours. And that's where we go through that questionnaire. If you want that questionnaire that we have, we'll gladly share it with everybody.
Yeah,
But
it'd be
the
great.
questionnaire that we go through basically gets right to their motivation. So by asking these questions, I forget how many questions it is exactly. Katie probably knows or Mark does, but we go through the questions, you're actually getting to the people's motivation. And that's why I said it's more than I just recognize that they have asked for a cash offer. And then we work on talking about how it works, that we can generate a cash offer, but we can also do a full market on your house to let you know what it would sell for on the open market so you can make a decision what's best for you. And then we go through the questions, set the appointment.
Yeah, that's right. So Anthony, opening line it's exactly what Grant said. It's hi Anthony, this is Via. I'm seeing your submission for a cash offer. Is 123 Main Street the home that you're looking at a cash offer on? So never, I do not lead with being a real estate agent. That does come, we have to disclose. Don't lead with that. They did not ask for a real estate agent. What they're asking for is a cash offer on their home. So you have to respond to their request first, get them rapport. And then when Grant's, we basically go into the script of, hey, we're going to show you multiple options. I am also a licensed real estate agent, whatever your state requires. Then you would do that, but don't lead with it. We have scripts, we have a ton of training. We have more trainings on that conversion than we have on the appointment, actually. So those are quite accessible. Once you become a realty client, you have access to our library and whatnot. It's a great question. It's a great question.
Yeah, and I asked because Katie mentioned before she had a 70% appointment rate, which is unbelievable. So congratulations on that. Clearly, mine is not as high as that. So, and I think those opening lines when you get them on the phone is critical. So I wanted to know what
All right,
what
I'm
you
going
guys
to
are
breeze.
saying.
Thank you, Anthony. There's a whole bunch of questions on chat. I'm going to breeze through any voicemail messages you're leaving to receive a high callback rate.
We don't leave voicemails.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Oh, yes, we do on sometimes. Sorry. You
Listen
shouldn't
to the
ask me this
boss,
stuff.
Grant.
Damn.
We actually follow Realty.com's action plan that they give us, and that is like what our agents do at a minimum. They have to do that every single day or week or however often it is for the lead. And for the first like 7 days, I believe, 5 to 7 days, it is call, don't leave a voicemail. Then the next day you call, you do leave a voicemail. Mark can speak more to what he's leaving on the voicemail, but we do occasionally leave voicemail.
Yeah, I guess we do leave voicemails.
Mark, what do you say on that voicemail?
Just along the lines that I'm following up on their request for the cash offer, and I've got some information for you. Please give me a call back, leave my number, and I don't want to say too much. I want them to call me back. So I say enough to get them to call me back.
That's right.
And then-
Robert, we're going to get to Robert in a second. A lot of you guys are asking basically the same question about local investors, how to get credible local investors. Does Realty help you? Yes and no. We sell you the leads. It's kind of up to you to find your investors. That said, depending on your market, we often match make people because we know who the iBuyers are, and we do have some private investors that do things on a national basis. I will say the typical iBuyer that I'm accustomed to working with is single family only, non-rural areas, certain year built, certain condition of home. It's a pretty tight buy box, right? It's doable in most markets, but it's pretty tight. So if you're in a rural area, it'll be a little harder for you to find a national iBuyer. Most, I think, major and medium-sized markets at this point have iBuyers, right? At this stage of the game.
You mind
Robert,
if I say something on that at
please.
all?
Yes, please.
For years, we used Zoodealio and entered it into Zoodealio. And I spent a long time, Katie and I negotiated with a local investor for months and months till we got a program that we wanted. And the biggest problem we found with most of the national ones is their buy boxes were so tight that, if it was built prior to a certain year, they're not going to buy it and things like that. So we went out, we looked at who the local ones are, and we started talking to them. And we went out and got appointments with them and presented what we can bring to the table. And we were able to negotiate where we're actually getting paid on the front end and we're listing the house for them after they flip it. And that's really pretty unusual for a lot of things. But we wanted a bigger buy box. So I would encourage people, if you can find a local person that you can work with, you'll get a bigger buy box where they'll do well in septic, they'll do condos. I mean, that's what you want because it gets really hard when you can't actually get a cash offer for them.
Yeah.
100%, yes. Always better. Most people pivot to local investors. We started with a group in Texas about 3 or 4 weeks ago, had a call with them this morning. They've already pivoted from iBuyer to local investor. I just think that if you haven't done this before, right? I think that success is sequential, not simultaneous. I do think that the first you can start tomorrow with an iBuyer. That's the only reason I suggest that. Like everybody, and they're great offers. They're good to work with. Some investors actually use the iBuyer offers, right? So my comment is just start there if you don't have anybody. If you are getting good deals, the money will find you. You will be shocked at how fast you're going to build up a list of local investors. It'll just happen. You can go to the courthouse steps, start introducing yourself to the investors that are bidding. You can find out what their buy boxes are. You can get on Facebook groups. You can get on meetups. If you are tuned into this, it's weeks, not months, to get some local investors, right?
And truthfully, we failed the first time. First time we tried to do this, we failed. We were not good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had to get a system.
Yeah, until we turned up the leads last Monday, like our success rate was not as high as it is now.
So
For
what
Yeah.
changed? So was it just a system? Was it a mindset? What changed?
I would say I know Grant honed in like our filters, I think you guys call them,
Mhm.
on what leads we do receive. But I think it was also like really dialing in one, the group of people. We have more people than we did before to answer these calls, and just kind of teaching them and partnering with our cash offer company, but also teaching them like to be super empathetic of the details that we are given because they
Mhm.
are going through and filling out the questionnaire. You are getting some of their motivations. And I think like using that to your advantage made a huge difference as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the training. We've done a lot more in-depth training with our agents now on
Yeah.
how to talk to people when you're there. We had a cash buyer come out and do 2 or 3 trainings. The company, it's made a big difference. And it's going to come down to picking the right people on your team, or if it's just you
Yeah.
being able to be empathetic enough and be able to put yourself in the people's shoes.
Right.
So I think just our whole mindset changed and the way that we actually the follow-ups happening, and that comes down to the accountability, right? But the follow-ups happening, the way we're treating people when we talk to them is much different than we did before.
No, I love that. Yeah, I love that. We have 2 more minutes. Robert and then Letitia. Let's try to do quick questions if we can anyway.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm just, are the leads seeing what we see through the emails, the dashboard, their estimated value? Are they seeing that?
Okay, so when the leads come in, really, really briefly, and anyone here can email Donnie@realty.com and he'll do a demo with you. They are filling out a form, Robert. It's a great question. They are saying what they think the condition of their house is. They are saying what they think the value of their house is. When you get the lead, you're actually getting the ABM. You're also seeing what they think. But so it's not that they're seeing it, they're actually filling it out, right? They're filling out that form. They are not seeing what you see as far as, like I said, AVM. They're not seeing, for those of you in homeward markets, it comes with a preliminary homeward offer. They are not seeing that, right? Letitia, last question.
Okay, well,
Yes, my question is, um, my personal phone number does have my photo, like, when you're calling someone and my photo comes up there. I believe that that's been the issue why I'm not getting the calls back. So I have I think I 2 calls previous, I start using a Google Voice phone number where it doesn't show my photo, and I got a little bit more response. So, I guess because they see it, oh, it's a real estate agent. I'm not going to answer this call or return this call because I know what I'm getting. So I guess that's well, my question was if that was okay that I'm not using my personal phone number, I'm using a Google Voice phone number.
That's a great tip, actually, whatever works. I think it's okay to have your name and your photo on there, but I wouldn't have, some people have on their phone your favorite realtor, your best realtor. I probably wouldn't have that on there. That's a little too in your face, right? But having a phone number and a company name, I don't think that necessarily ruins credibility. I just think to y'all know what I mean, right? Do some of you guys do that where it's like it's going to come up on the contact card, like Grant, your favorite realtor Johnson or whatever. I wouldn't do that. I think that's too confusing.
Ross, if
Uh,
it's not in follow-up, boss, it didn't happen.
it didn't
So it's in
happen.
the it has to be in the CRM or it does not count. You
Team
can't
leader,
use your own phone.
team leaders take heed. That is true. You guys, thank you. I would love to have you back. You are stellar. I mean, I knew you were having good results. I had no idea they were that stellar. It's going to be fun to track this in Conversion Lab and, see what's happening. And it's just going to be great to compare notes. And I know that on behalf of everybody here, this was so helpful, so good. So thank you for being here today. And we appreciate you guys. And thanks for everyone. We'll send you their questionnaire. If you register, we'll send it to the email you registered to. And we can also send you my favorite script for these too. So, all right, everybody. Thank you.